right, let's get things going here on Boxtorow with the radio boss. And I'm going to tell you what. Listen, when you can have a legendary figure on your show 2 times, you're doing something. We talked with her back in 2014. She's recorded 30, count them, 30 studio albums, has won 5 Grammys, numerous Grammy nominations. I received an EPK from her publicity team. If I went through that whole EPK, we'd be here for like 20, 25 minutes. She's the one and only Dionne Warwick. Joins us here on Boxtorow with the radio boss. Miss Warwick, welcome back to the program.
Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. It's awesome to have you. You know, again, talk with you back in 2014. And one of the things I was interested in knowing is why you weren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't the end all be all, but when you've won so many other awards, sort of when you're my age, that's how you kind of look at things as terms of people and are they in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? But what I was more interested in, which I just found out recently, is that you're now up for a nomination. But this is the first time you've even been nominated. So even before we get into that, your thoughts on being nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, no, first of all, I am elated that they finally figured it out.
Right. Thank you.
But I think more than anything else, it's wonderful to be recognized, and I am very, very happy about this. I really am.
Yeah, it's big. You say finally, like, I mean, so it's a big deal. Obviously, it's a big deal to you, or a semi-big deal. I mean, you have so many other nominations, but I mean, it's something you've obviously wanted.
Well, no, it's not something I felt the need to have. I always believe that when anything is supposed to happen, that's when it does. And I guess the time is supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's a great time. And, I mean, like I said, I mean, you have so many other awards that you've won. I mean, it is what it is, to your point. So you just celebrated an 80th birthday back in December. Congratulations. What did you, in the midst of COVID, what did you do for your 80th birthday?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, which was a joy, not having to think about doing anything other than enjoying my day. It's a very special day. I felt very blessed that God decided, okay, you got another year, just go ahead and enjoy it. And that's exactly what I did. I had wonderful conversations with my family over this thing at FaceTime. And so I got to celebrate it in the kind of way I wanted to, with those that are very dear to me.
No, it's a great thing, and you've obviously earned whatever you want to do. You can do for your 80 years. Congratulations. So you mentioned this thing and the whole technology. Like, you're really into the technology of today. As a matter of fact, you're big on Twitter, right? You've gotten into some Twitter beefs, haven't you?
Yeah, they decided to call me the Queen of Twitter, which I think is quite hilarious to me, but I'm very appreciative that being thought of someone that has some knowledge to share.
Yeah, you definitely do. Speaking of today and the technology, so you appeared on the versus battle with Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. How was I'm sorry I missed that, but how was that?
Oh, it was wonderful. I was there surprised. I was given a call that morning and asked if I would mind coming down to Philadelphia, surprising the ladies. And it was my pleasure to be able to do so.
Yeah, no question about it. The one of only, of course, Dionne Warwick joins us here on Boxtorow with the radio boss. So your latest albums, She's Back and The Voices of Christmas, your 29th and 30th albums released 2019. I mean, you've been in music now for 7 decades.
Not quite.
Not quite 7, 6 decades. Okay. Okay. 6 decades. 6 decades. Yes. So, but speak to that. I mean, being able to do it for so long and releasing some music a little bit more recently.
Well, first of all, it's what I do. And it's wonderful to know that people still want to hear me, and support my recording career. both of those CDs are very special to me. She's Back came about because people consistently saying, when are you going to record again? And I said, well, okay, we'll go in the studio and we'll do something that I feel is wonderful and that people want to hear from me. So that kind of quelled that. She's back. Okay, everybody, she's back. And the Christmas CD, Christmas is a very special time of year for me. And I wanted to include some people that I know and some that I didn't know to be a part of my Christmas CD. So the Voices of Christmas is very, very special. It has some of the most incredible voices in our industry that have joined me doing some wonderful Christmas carols and with a little twist on all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it must feel great to your point when people want you to still record music. I mean, you had an album in 2011, one in 2014. So you're still very active. And now in 2019, it's got to feel great that people still want you and still want to hear you and what you've been able to do for now 6 decades. How special is that for you?
Absolutely incredibly exciting to know that those who have supported this close to 60-year career of mine still feel that I'm viable and that they miss my voice, which I'm thrilled about. And I feel that if I can accommodate them, I certainly will.
Yeah. For you, it's interesting because not a lot of people can cross, 6 decades in terms of music and continue to have hits. One of my favorite songs is by you is Don't Make Me Over. I have this album in the background, Dionne Warwick, The Magic of Believing. We're into these records. So we have these records. What that album in particular, because that was with the Drinkard Singers who you were a part of. How special, what do you remember about the making of that particular album?
Well, I wasn't, first of all, a part of the Drinkard Singers. The Drinkard Singers, my mother and her siblings, my aunts and uncles.
Okay.
I had a group called the Gospel Airs with my sister and 2 of my cousins. So there's a distinct difference now.
There is.
But the Magic of Believing is my very first gospel endeavor. And why we sing is my second. It's a family of gospel singers that I grew up in, gospel music being very, very important to me, and still is. I think it's a wonderful thing that I can still remember and feel very, very close to gospel music. And I will be doing another one as soon as I possibly think of when and why and how.
Oh, that is going to be absolutely awesome. And because, I mean, that's the thing, like, gospel, R&B, jazz, standards, pop, like you've covered the entire gamut. And not a lot of people can do that. So can you speak to that, just the longevity, but being able to be versatile in the music business?
Well, music, regardless of the genre, is music. I used to joke with the kids, well, you sing this and you sing that and you sing this, and I let them know it's nothing but the same 8 notes in that scale. We all sing the same 8 notes. So there's no difference in any kind of music. It's just music.
The one and only Dionne Warwick joins us here on the program. So sort of in that vein, and not necessarily in the vein of the different genres of music, but the longevity, because that to me, and again, I'm not, I was born in the 70s, so I love all kinds of music, soul, hip hop, R&B. Pop was the thing sort of in the 80s, sort of took over, in my opinion, at least, took over the 80s. And you were as big in the 80s as you were in the 60s and the 70s. What do you remember most about that time in the 80s? And even more specifically, the song That's What Friends Are For, that, of course, you recorded with Gladys Knight, Stevie Wonder, and Elton John.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, it was during a period of time that we were plagued by a disease called AIDS. And I became very, very active in trying to find solutions to that particular disease. And I still am very actively involved. I found the song while doing a project for Arista Records, and commissioned to write or produce me at that time was Bert Bacharach and his wife at that time, Carol Bear Sager. And I had just left their home after listening to some songs they were playing for me. And there was a film called Night Shift that was playing. I was in that twilight zone of sleep, basically. And the song at the end of this film woke me up. It was like, oh, what is that song? And I watched the crawl to see who had written it. And as it turned out, it was Bacharach and Bear Sager. So when I went to their home that morning to hear some more songs, I brought that song up. And Carol, his wife, she's such a hoot anyway. She said, well, there are 4 people know that song. I said, we're going 4 people. She said, yeah, Rod Stewart, who recorded it for the film, Bert Bacharach, me, and now you. I said, well, the song is too good not to let the world hear it. So why don't we consider that as one of the songs you're thinking about recording me with? And he said, of course, if that's what you want to do. And because of friendships being as vital to me as they are, I suggested, well, can we include some friends? And as it turned out, these 3 people that I called, who happened to be very dear friends of mine, were available and amenable to doing it with me. And the results is what it is.
Yeah.
That's what friends are for.
Just an awesome. I mean, one of the all-time great songs. And of course, you were also you mentioned the 80s and really being involved. You were also part of We Are the World.
Yes, I was, which was another wonderful event to be a part of. And the purpose for it, to feed people who were not able to feed themselves, especially in the motherland, in Africa, where we were trying to let people know how much we cared, raise enough funds as well as food to help them get themselves together over there. To get a call from Quincy Jones, first of all, is quite something. And when he called me, he said, listen, I need you here at this time, place. And it was so funny because I was working in Las Vegas at the time at the Golden Nugget. And he says, well, don't worry about it. I've arranged everything with Steve. When I said, you have? He said, yes. As it turned out, that evening, Steve came to see the show and sat with me for a while. He said, listen, tomorrow morning, you're going to be on my plane, be taken to Los Angeles. Quincy Jones called me last night. I said, he said he did that. He said, I can't refuse Quincy Jones. I said, okay. I landed in LA, and it was the night of the American Music Awards. And as it turned out, everybody that was on the American Music Awards would also be a part of that's We Are the World. So I was able to not only be a part of something magnanimous such as this, but also to get back to see a lot of friends I haven't seen in ages because we're always running past each other in airports, and to meet some new ones. So I felt very, very privileged and still do to have been a part of that.
Yeah, another all-time great, one of my favorites, again, as a huge fan of the 80s. You know, I'm old enough to also remember Solid Gold. What do you remember most about hosting that show?
That was wonderful. You know, I was asked by Bob Banner, who created the show, to co-host the what was deemed a pre-Grammy show, where Glenn Campbell, who was my co-host, we hosted the show to kind of highlight the songs that were going to be nominated and possibly win the Grammys that year. And it was a ball. We had a great time, and it was a 2-hour show. And eventually, Paramount apparently said, oh, I think this is going to be a great show to have on consistently. Bob called me and asked if I'd be willing to host the show. And I said, well, what about Glenn? He said, well, we only want one host. And everybody felt that you were the vibrant part of the show, so why don't we do that? So as it turned out, I became the hostess of Solid Gold. And for 3 seasons consistently, we were the #1 variety show on television at that point in time. I left the show because my contract was up, and they had two other hosts. I think it was Marilyn McCoo and Andy Gibb, I believe. And then they came back and said, we think we need you back. I came back to the show. And it was a wonderful time for me. It really was. I was kind of the first to do that type of show, to host that type of show of African heritage. Hello, folks that look like me did not have that opportunity too frequently. So I felt very privileged, as well as felt I had a presence now to have my peers appear on that show, to do the same thing they were doing for people like Madonna and the youngsters who had recordings out. And we were kind of responsible for sales on that. So when I called my peers to be a part of the show, it also boosted their sales. So it was a good time in my life again.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome. The one and only Dionne Warwick joins us here on the program. So your sons are in the business. One's what, a singer, producer, produced your album. Speak to that. I mean, that's got to be awesome to have your sons in the business, and then more specifically with your legendary, as the legend that you are.
Yeah, well, this is their choice. It's not something that I promoted to them. This is something that they decided they wanted to do. David, my eldest son, is a wonderful writer, songwriter, brilliant. He sings like a canary. He's wonderful. And he's also a part of my band. He's my drummer. But David entered the industry by writing a song for one of my dearest, beloved friends. More family than friend. He's no longer with us, Luther Vandross. He wrote Here and Now with Terry Steele. And so that was his entry into the industry. I didn't know he could sing as well as he does until I heard him singing one afternoon, playing piano in my home. I said, who's that singing downstairs? And that was him. And as it turns out, he's a drummer, and a brilliant drummer. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in my band.
Right.
Damon, my baby, my youngest son, decided he wanted to produce, and has been doing it since he was a teenager. He started with a group, a rap group, Bones, Thugs and Harmony, and that was his entry into the production end of it. He's become an incredible producer. He subsequently became the producer of people like Pink, Christina Aguilera, Destiny's Child, and a few other. He became the ladies' producer, and they regarded him as their brother. So I'm very, very pleased that they both honed their craft, and to a wonderful extent that they're being called upon to do more things of that nature.
Yeah, and then your granddaughter Cheyenne, I believe, also is a singer, sings with you, occasionally, right?
Yes, she does. Cheyenne is David's daughter, and she has developed into an incredible voice. She started singing with me when she was 9 years old. She joined me on a couple of songs. I would call her out of the audience, and she would love to do it. And she's now grown into a beautiful young lady, and singing like, wow. I keep saying, okay, girlfriend, back up a bit. She has developed beautifully. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah. And then was it more recent? I know you were on Fox's Masked Singer. Was that more recently? What was, that's a big show, like Dionne Warwick remains relevant. Like how exciting was that?
It was wonderful. My grandbabies, I've got 7 grandbabies, and the youngest ones love that show. And they can say, Grandma, when are you going to do it? Gladys Knight did it and Patti LaBelle did it. Why aren't you doing it? So I said, okay. And then my sons started saying the same thing to me. Yeah, Mom, you should do it and have some fun. And it was a ball. I had the best time. And it was so funny because being on that show is the panel recognizing your voice basically more than anybody else recognizing it. And I knew after I sang the first song, I said, well, that's the end of this. If I get in the way in the world, you're not going to know who I am. And as it turned out, after they discovered my second time I came out to sing, they all knew who I was. So it was like, but it was a ball. I had the best time, a lot of fun. It was nice to be kind of anonymously known.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So you're
Yeah.
not, you do so many things. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, I found that interesting, your interior design business.
Yeah, interior design. I mean, I've been doing that for the past 35 years.
Oh, wow.
And felt finally it's time for everybody to know this is also what I do. And I'm hoping that those who now have discovered that I have an interior design company, they go to my website to see the kind of work that I do. And my partner and I, Bruce Garrick, feel it's time now to get on our horses and start riding it.
What I wonder what that would be like. You call an interior design company, and then you're working with Dionne Warwick. Like I mean, have you? I mean, so do you? I'm sure your business and you all do, design work for anybody or everybody,
Oh
right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely we do. Yes, and most people say, "Oh, Dionne Warwick," no, they feel it's too expensive. No, it's not. We work according to budget and give you the best work that we possibly can within that budget. We enjoy what we do, and yes, I do. I'm a part of all the design work. I have and will continue to do what I do. I've moved pianos. I've helped paint. I lay out. I do all the things that are required within the design world. And Bruce and I work very, very well together. We have for the past 30 some odd years, and we'd like to continue to do that for those who now are in need of our services. We're ready.
Yeah. Couple of last thoughts. So, what's going to be next once we sort of get past COVID? Because you were doing Las Vegas, which is really, really huge, and then of course, COVID-19 came about. First of all, how was Las Vegas?
Oh, we had a great time. Um, Fortunately, we had full houses. Uh, Audiences apparently enjoyed it. They kept putting their butts in seats. So it was wonderful to be back in Vegas and consistently until this COVID-19 reared its ugly head and shut down not only my showroom, but also the entire Las Vegas place of entertainment. Has shut down entertainment throughout the entire world. I'm hoping that this vaccine, whatever it is, will quell it and get us back into doing what we enjoy doing and what people need at this point in time. They need some entertainment, especially music. Um, I am looking forward to it. I miss it terribly. And, although I'm finally getting to enjoy my home for the first time in many, many years because I'm on the road so frequently, I feel that it's now time for me to get back out there and get some smiles going on again.
Yeah. And then last thought, again, with the decades that you've been doing this, how have you seen music, the music industry change? And then I want to also get your thoughts on, music and the music industry today.
It was changed drastically. First thing that's quite noticeable, there are no live musicians any longer. Everything's done on a computer, with the exception of me. I refuse to record. I just will not do it.
I hear you.
I am from the old school, as I'm told on several occasions, which I happen to enjoy.
That's
And
right.
apparently everybody else did too, and still do. Um, the music of today, first of all, it's being made by youngsters. And of course, it's geared for youngsters' ears, not so much for mine. But I've been basically with my grandbabies and my sons. I am kept abreast of what's going on musically. My nieces and nephews as well. They say, "Have you heard this Grammy? Or have you heard this Dionne?" And no, I haven't. Well, listen to this. See, tell me what you think. and which is wonderful that they still want to hear my opinions. Um, I am a firm believer. Here I get my firm beliefs again, but I am that that's the beauty of music, of what has happened. You know, it's a variation of many things, of thoughts, of tones, of everything else that goes along with music. And those who are making it, God bless them. Nothing but success is what I wish for them all. And if it's geared for my ears to hear, I will listen. If it's not, then I won't. But I know where it is geared for, and their peers are responding to it. So music will be what it is for the duration of our lives and the rest of everybody else's lives. That's something I hope will never ever die. We need music.
I said lastly, I promise this is lastly. Your career. What do you want people to remember most about you and your career?
She was always who she is. It's simple.
There it is. So she's the queen of Twitter. She is a five-time Grammy Award winner. She's been nominated finally for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 30 albums. Count them. 30 albums. She's the one and only Dionne Warwick joins us here on Boxtorow with the Radio Boss. Miss Warwick, again, indeed a pleasure. I know you're still doing your thing. Continued success in all you do.